Welcome to another unique installment of Overunity artwork from Cavetronics Dimensional Art, titled Gnosis, Flaming Easter Eggs from Hell, based on the works by Brian D. Prater and narrated by Melissa R. Cody Prater. In this presentation, we will discuss this dark world and the reality of some public perception of the free energy community. The agenda for this presentation is to provide an analysis of society's views on advanced Overunity devices and technology. This presentation describes the Overunity principle involved in the reordering and mixture processes to explain why society's narrative about Overunity is skewed. This presentation is posed as a challenge for people, especially within the White Hat, Q, Truther, Anon, and Anonymous groups, and social media personas such as Juan07, Dr. Bernie Suarez, Michael Jaco, and more. The challenge in this Flaming Easter Eggs from Hell is to change your thinking, to upgrade your understanding about the free energy open source community of scientists, engineers, and inventors, and the technology they have to offer humanity. The real challenge involves completing the mission and our willingness and ability to do so. Lastly, this presentation gives a brief highlight about WhoHub Humanitarian Software's users' constitutional rights based on universal rights and higher law, and concludes with a few architectural concepts for future cities. And just so we're clear, the flaming Easter eggs from hell are meant to get your attention and raise awareness. So here we are at the crossroads of communication, discussing Overunity technology and art. This is a gateway and a bridge over the great divide between science and art, as in colleges, or science and religion, as in law, or in science and philosophy and logic systems, and so on. To be straightforward, the free energy community has been fighting censorship before it was well known to be going on throughout society. We have been battling the suppression of Overunity technology, plus lies and attacks on our personal lives, families, businesses, laboratories, websites, and much more for many decades. Considering the information warfare brought against all things involving Overunity, it has been difficult to keep the information available to the public, and even harder to get these working technologies to manufacturing. This is where you come in, and the purpose for this presentation. However, before I go on to the next slide, I would like to point out a few great technologies from the open source community and mention their names. On the top left, the Geek System, invented by Paul Pantone, can use any liquid, water, urine, soda, tea, vinegar, or otherwise to run engines and has been implemented and used in tractors, farm equipment, and a military helicopter. Another technology that you may be familiar with is the hydrogen fuel cell, also known as the water fuel cell, as described by its inventor, Stanley Myers, which is now being used in some new Ford vehicles. Power factor correction and the RV rotoverter technologies are the contributions of inventor and engineer Hector D. Torres Perez. And in the middle image, the RV demonstrations were built by Chad Underwood and Brian D. Prater. On the top, the RV generator is the prime mover that turns a motor generator, and on the bottom, the RV setup includes Prater's additional capacitor bank that boosts power. Society has been brainwashed through controlled media, and the public's understanding about free energy technology has also been diced. Overunity has been diced into somewhat disordered packets of misinformation, which this presentation aims to sort out and clarify for people to better comprehend who we in the free energy open source community are, as well as what we are not. The fact is that over Unity generation systems are possible. In fact, many have been built and implemented already, from prototypes to military vehicles and more. So the battle is not with the technology or its scalability. Rather, the battle has been with the oil companies, the bankers, the usual crowd that runs the show behind the scenes, holding the powers of government to themselves as the financiers. This is a well known issue which requires very little elaboration at this point in 2023 when the world is completely upside down due to terrible management. That brings us to the current day, when we see the opportunity through the current political confusion in the world as the time to move forward, to push forth with the building of the world we all want to live in someday. A better world, of course. Let's begin with a few slides that feature some specially selected products and concepts by Brian D. Prater, which correlate with the overall essence of this presentation. Since childhood, Prater has been developing environmentally safe products to enhance human lives for heating and cooling, energy generation, and propulsion systems, to name a few. Prater is a savant and a genius. He is both self-taught and educated within some of the most prestigious schools in the USA for astrophysics, advanced physics, mathematics, cosmology, IT, and networking, and more. This slide features his magnetic battery design that would last until the elements of the magnets themselves broke down, which would make this battery useful for hundreds or thousands of years. The smart grid. Some people oppose it, some people support it. The division appears to be politically biased, and I am suggesting that the enemy is not the smart grid, but the people controlling it who are either greedy for the money or part of the supporting structure for those people. The smart grid itself could be just as useful as any other modern tool to bring higher quality standard of living. This slide, the concept by Brian D. Prater for nanogridded generators, is seen, which could be adapted to the computer systems as upgrades to the smart grid. This technology would not decrease the amount of power supplied to the customer. Rather, it would introduce more efficiency into the systems to save overall energy, power, and loss. I included this charge loop system designed by Brian D. Prater to highlight the fact that over Unity systems always show a loopback. These loopbacks can be used to harness over Unity and to create true free energy devices that are replicatable and able to be manufactured. These concepts are well tested and are more numerous than one may imagine. The number of patents that have been taken by the military and thereafter shelved in order to suppress them are in the tens of thousands, if not more. Many times when this happens, the inventors are given gag orders, handed down straight from the Attorney General in Washington, D.C. The inventors are then told to never speak about their own technology or face decades in prison. The inventors lose all their money that they put in for the patents and the resources that they put into their projects, and they are not even allowed to discuss it again. Meanwhile, people in the public make up stories about what happened, and most often the truth is rarely heard. Have you ever heard the term economic terrorist? That term, economic terrorist, is defined as someone who has technology capable of disrupting the profits of monopolies, which in this case is the oil companies. When someone is placed on the economic terrorist list, they are unable to fly or leave the country. They are also given agents as spies, and their lives are invaded in many ways from many angles and many agencies. This is the description of the life of some free energy scientists, engineers, and inventors who have been on the front end of attacks from the powers that be or cabal by whatever name or political flavor of the day for a very long time. Many of these open source engineers are often loners by nature, individualistic, independent, and work freelance. As such, they are easy targets for the powers that be, so to speak. And that drives the open source community to exist and to continue to supply information to the public because we know we are in war. It is very evident to us as it has been for many long decades. Overunity in Cavetronics dimensional art shows us how the principle of reordering is involved in the movement of energy, like breakover points, which the open source free energy scientists use as efficiency points in their technology, techniques, and devices. The intersectionality in overunity allows us to see, metaphorically speaking, what is behind the veil darkly. If it weren't for this crossroads, we may never get the opportunity to communicate at all, considering the wide chasm that has been placed between us otherwise. Intersectionality is a new word that describes the point of blended things, such as seen on the left, looking like a Venn diagram. In the news, intersectionality is often combined with what is referred to as the climate change debate or the climate cult in some social media. However, it does not matter which side of the aisle you stand on concerning climate change. The open source community offers technological solutions for future product choices for consumers. Considering the rising cost of living, inflation, and constant increases in the cost of delivering energy to power your homes, it seems reasonable to support true free energy technology from the real open source community of master scientists, engineers, and inventors that brought you Tesla technology and the advancements from it since. I am not referring to Elon Musk or the current Tesla company. Rather, I am speaking about the inventor Nikola Tesla and his technology using coils, which was supposed to have provided free wireless energy to all homes in the United States almost 100 years ago, but it was suppressed by J.P. Morgan and others like him. That is the war I am speaking of, the energy war. This slide shows three variations of the same actions as different perceptions of order. Depending on your perspective within or around these actions, as depicted in these three images, your perception of what is happening and what that action looked like may be different from another at a different angle or perspective. Yet, as you can see, there is the sense of a unifying order among the function itself and how the energy moves. These images show both the divisions, as explained from various perspectives, as well as the recombination process that appears like a weaving effect. The mixture process in Overunity systems is described in better detail with really cool art and architecture in another previous video titled Architectural Overunity Artistic Concepts, which I highly recommend for anyone interested in learning more about these special artful designs and how they are created with Overunity science and math. However, for this video, the mixture process describes how society is presently confused, and it attempts to sort through some of the key details of this asymmetrical war and the chaos and obstacles within it concerning free energy technology. Humanity is at a crossroads. Our systems have failed us, the people controlling those systems have failed us, and the people still supporting those systems are failing us. How did we get so mixed up? God says, I make weal and I make woe. To simplify that statement, it means that God makes both the good and the bad. Remember that the Bible teaches that the Lord sent King Saul his delusions? I mention that because our world, the media, the news, and the governments have become so bizarre that it causes people to question their reality. So, we need to be clear-headed, with a clear understanding. So here are some nuts and bolts, or facts about Overunity and the technology that it utilizes. The systems within an Overunity system are made efficient and maximized within the whole. As a complete system, it is therefore capable of utilizing techniques for predictive modeling using cause and effect systems engineering. With Prater's formula, for example, Overunity causes the systems within it to conform, much like you see on the right, where the exterior around the egg conforms around the outside as it mimics the inside core. So we want you to understand our philosophy. Due to the extreme volume of controversy and propaganda in the media these days, it is best to clarify our political and religious leanings rather than allow people's minds to wander too far off the path. We are not part of the liberal or conservative agenda. We are not part of any one organized religion. We are engineers, for the most part, along with many other titles. We believe in a living God, a holy, just, and true universal God who resides in us. We believe there is good and evil. We understand the necessity for the separation between good and evil. We seek to do good, not evil. We do not support evil, as defined as actions, thoughts, or the will to do harm to others, including children, animals, and the earth where we live, and we seek harmony with civilizations in the future that we may meet in our travel among the stars. We are practical, and so are our solutions. They come without bias or strings. Sometimes simple things work the best. We understand that life is difficult, and therefore we have simplified things so that even the least technologically savvy individual will be able to use our products that may be created in the future in the form of a humanitarian software, energy generation systems, med beds, and more. I have heard a lot of talk about med beds and free energy, but I find it interesting that none in the truther community mentions where those technologies are going to come from. Yet I have the answer for you all to consider heartedly. We among the open source community that I have been speaking of are the scientists, engineers, and inventors that are ready to bring those types of technologies to manufacturing and development. However, many of you may need to change your thinking in order to accept that is us, the little known individuals scattered on the front end of a war that most of you just arrived at in the past few years or so. Yet I believe if we can work together, then another principle of over unity may be able to help us if we can make it over a breakover point to gain a little boost from God or the universe, whichever you prefer to call it. The media on TV and social media sites are covered with the worst images, the worst headlines, and the worst looking ads. It's a constant barrage of sickness, war, and drudgery. Even the art died a long time ago. Yet people seem to be tuned in to the TV day after day, readily accepting more filth into their heads. And the social media content creators are quick to attach an apocalyptic headline to their videos and blogs to gain the most attention. It seems everything is geared towards the bad, in this case, the bad egg. Let's call the bad egg Lucifer and the good egg the Messiah. You have been given both eggs to choose from. Both came from the same source. Both are referred to as the morning star. Which one are you waiting for? Which one are you tuned into? Just like the snake's tongue, there's a splitting action involved in universal movements of energy. You can see the division process very easily through Cavetronics dimensional art. Yet the formula for overunity also shows us there are unifying actions of recombination, as discussed in the mixture process. But it is also evident in prediction modeling. That is good systems engineering. Overunity is deeply embedded in all things because it comes from God. It is God's code. Not the whole code, but a great deal that matters to humanity is contained in it, for a total of around 200,000 differential equations and partial differential equations, which provide true over-unity efficiency systems engineering built for maximum efficiency and optimal sustainability for all systems contained within it. With that being said, perhaps you can understand why we have been warred against. Yet we also feel that we must identify ourselves apart from others that we may be likened unto, so to speak. To be clear, unlike the so-called elites, we are not hiding. We have not been in hiding. We have, however, been under attack for decades, and some of us have been under attack most all of our lives. Rather than allow those heroes to go into obscurity while the world is in darkness, I am throwing these flaming Easter eggs from hell at the so-called elites who have stopped free energy from going to the public for the last 100 years. My hope is that you will also pick up some of these flaming Easter eggs and throw them from your own part of hell and help light up this world by sharing the truth. If you are still on this earth and alive in a human body, then you were probably struggling at times to find the willingness to complete your mission. What is the mission? Is the mission for us to sit and wait on God to take care of us? Did God give Adam dominion over all the earth? Did Noah and his sons inherit the whole earth? Did Jesus say that the meek will inherit the earth? The Jews follow the code Tikkun Olam in Hebrew, which means repair the world. That is our duty. That is our mission. Whether you choose to accept it or not is your choice. We know life is hard. It is difficult some days to simply exist in this oppressive environment. For these reasons, we as engineers have been designing ways to make the transition smooth and easy. Easy enough that even non-technologically minded people can participate. In the same way we design our products, we have designed this YouTube channel so that you can subscribe to, which will in turn monetize us in the future. For those of you who may have been given more than others, and you can see the wisdom in these things, and perhaps envision a future where such great ideas are implemented, please contact either Brian D. Prater or Melissa R. Cody to discuss investing in WhoHub humanitarian software. There are already 2 videos about 33 to 45 minutes in length explaining the basics of WhoHub and how it works that are linked in the right-hand sidebar content at www.whohub.tech. And one of those videos is available at this YouTube channel. Rather than explain WhoHub, I would like to emphasize how it relates to the parable of the mustard seed and moving a mountain. Overunity is like the mustard seed that can eventually move a mountain. You see, when enough efficiency is put into a system, there is a hand of God moment, or a breakover point into Overunity, where you get more out than you put in. We in the open source community built a base, or the concept of it. In WhoHub, each person brings their own mustard seed and contributes to moving the mountain, transitioning the mountain, or building a new mountain. Either way, we are building together a different and new future. WhoHub can be the driver to get these advanced technologies into manufacturing and then to the consumers. There is more to WhoHub than just manufacturing and the things mentioned in this presentation. But Cavetronics R&D Energy has always had a keen focus on manufacturing of these and other highly advanced energy generation systems, which is one of the several reasons why we developed this concept for a viable humanitarian software, to make a way for these inventions to become real products available to the public. Other than that, we are not part of any other organization, religion, political affiliation, or cabal. And if you try, I am sure you can attach a scripture quote, quip, or holy text to match your perception of what I am saying. In WhoHub, it is always your choice, which is why choice is one of the fundamentals in the user's constitution. If you have seen the first video about WhoHub, then you may already be aware of the universal rights. However, I wanted to especially highlight this point about the future software because it directly stems from the relationship we aim to have with the people that use it. We do not advocate using users' private information for financial gain, invasion of privacy, or otherwise. We do not advocate injections, implants, chips, karma rating system, social credit system, or other technologically based identifications or measures now or in the future. Also, If you like the artwork in this slide, such as the background orchids or the foreground crystal flowers, be sure to subscribe this channel to get the upcoming presentation on photonic light, which should be available sometime this month in March. WhoHub's user constitution is based on higher law. Just like the images on this slide, Overunity designs incorporate a higher law from beyond this world, whereby we are as lights in this world. Therefore, we see each other as equals, as part of the universal principles of fairness, morality, and justice for all. Members of the open source community of free energy scientists, engineers, and inventors have been paying it forward before there was a movie about it. This presentation is about spreading awareness of those volunteers, such as our dear friend and colleague, the belated Dr. Eugene Mallow, who have worked on behalf of humanity and often live and die in obscurity. These flaming Easter eggs from hell represent our combined efforts to shed light in this dark world. Feel free to lob these flaming Easter eggs from hell at your friends or local electric company to share your support. There are an endless supply of predictions about the future. And no matter what happens, there is certainly a lot of cleanup that must take place at some point, and we do have solutions for those. But for now, here is what we at Capetronics have in mind for the future. This is a glimpse into another narrated video that I am putting together to show our concept for new sustainable cities, starting with what we refer to as Goodville, which we hope to someday start as a model city. Goodville will be a sustainable town that produces free energy for its residents, public transportation that doesn't use fossil fuels, along with offering advanced education systems, wholesome foods grown on site, sustainable farming, manufacturing, restaurants, wellness centers, a new type of genealogy center, new eco homes, and more. This slide incorporates one of the ideas expressed through WhoHub's future platform as the decision-making network, which is that we see ourselves as the architects of the future. And along those lines, our vision for WhoHub can be simplified as a medium through which we can redesign the world in the way that makes sense to us at our local levels. This idea has been expressed repeatedly in previous videos about WhoHub because it is important to understand our perspective, which is first on the local level and then to incorporate those into a larger efficiency system. So in that manner, the local environment is not culturally transformed from a global cookie cutter. Rather, the local levels are supplied the things they cannot provide on their own. And the software acts as a communication tool as well as an organizational structure to bring efficiency into all systems within it without destroying the people or overlooking their needs. This presentation concludes with a quote from Overunity scientist Brian David Prater, who states, "The future is efficiency." In summary, the open source community of free energy scientists, engineers, and inventors want people to be aware of the reality and existence of advanced energy generation systems that have been largely suppressed. We believe that this is the time now to come forward with vital information that may make it out to the public while the powers that be continue to hide from exposure. If you enjoyed Flaming Easter Eggs from Hell, you may also like to see the previous Cosmic 7D Easter Egg Baskets 1 through 12, which are also available on this YouTube channel for YouHub. Some of the works of art in this presentation are available for sale on Etsy at Capetronics Art, which is also linked in our YouTube banner as seen on the right with the blue-green arrow. If there is a particular flaming Easter egg that you would like to have in your private collection, comment in the discussion below or email me, Melissa, with the slide number listed at the bottom right-hand corner, and the item can be placed on Etsy for sale at your request. Thank you for watching.